if he needs any welding done, I go do his welding. So we kind of trade back and forth. But that's what was put out on Oregon Public Broadcasting.
Well, somebody's asking here, how many years did he serve? Soldier first.
I served for 10.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like the beginning of awareness.
I'm a disabled vet.
A disabled veteran, served for 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and you were in prison last year, incarcerated, before being given any due process, which your due process was extremely limited, as I witnessed.
They showed, I do a lot of medieval sword fighting.
Like SCA?
Like SCA.
Nice.
I joust, I sword fight, and they showed my sword fighting pictures from the SCA to convince the grand jury that I was dangerous.
Oh my God.
So play fighting, acting, sword fighting, acting.
Like role play, yeah.
SCA, role play. And they showed that to the grand jury as evidence
And they showed
that
it.
you were a terrorist.
They showed it
dangerous.
in my release hearing also, because I was hitting a guy in the head
pretrial
with a
release.
two-handed sword, and they showed that picture.
I'm sorry for laughing. It's kind of a travesty and ridiculous all at the same time, you know?
Totally ridiculous.
And that's
Wow.
why they held you against your will in that prison for how many months last year before trial?
I don't even remember.
It was more than a
all
year.
blur.
And
It's more than a year.
And finally, you did get a pretrial release prior
I
to
finally
trial.
got a pretrial release.
After how many attempts that you requested pretrial release?
It was a few.
Several. And then
yeah.
you were finally released prior to trial, so you were able to attend your trial freely, which I
Yes,
witnessed you
yes.
on the ground freely attend. So you've been out for a few months, not even a full year.
So here we go.
And now you've been sentenced for 1 year.
sentenced, and I
and
go
1
to
day.
prison. And
how do you feel about, I mean, this is about the Hammonds. I get what we're doing down the West Coast, all the way to Lompoc prison where your captives are waiting for you. But how do you feel on your last 30 days when you've done time already? I mean,
I get to ride my horse
you get to ride your horse. I mean,
a lot.
you're a very happy and wonderful man.
So-
You have a great outlook, very strong, courageous.
I can't do anything about it, you know. But I could tell you that I'm not happy with going away for a year, and I'm not going to rely on a politician to get me out of jail.
Your experience, do you feel like due process was served to you at all?
No. I feel that we didn't get a fair trial. We weren't allowed to defend ourselves in court.
They tasered your lawyer.
He looked at me square in the eye on my third week, and he says, "I want you to sign this piece of paper so I could go on vacation." And it was like a declaration of guilt.
Really?
And I'm like, "You're fired, dude." But
Yeah.
then he kept showing up to court for 5 months, getting paid after I fired him.
Wow.
And then you were reassigned Michelle.
Yeah, and she's a fantastic
The
lawyer.
attorney. And her last name,
Kohler.
Kohler, yes.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I got that right.
And she's a
She
good
was
person. Absolutely good person.
I did get to hear her speak and act as your representative in court, and she was excellent.
She was excellent, and she tried every legal aspect, just like we tried every legal aspect at the refuge.
What was allowed, though? Was she limited in her capacity even to represent you? Was she given limitations?
Everything that she put forward was denied by the judge.
Everything.
Everything.
And it was a lot that
Now,
I saw. I
there
saw
was
everything
guys
denied when I
shooting
finally witnessed.
at drones,
Yeah.
and there was guys shooting at helicopters, and they walked off with probation. I dug a hole. I'm going to federal prison for a year. The reason why that happened was when they took a plea deal, we lost their witnesses in court.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when
It
people
was a
take plea
big
deals.
chest game.
Were you allowed to speak on your behalf, or did you even have an interest to speak on your behalf on your own?
I had a chance to speak at one of my hearings, and I told everybody about being stripped naked at gunpoint and being thrown in the back of a black SUV and drove across the state at 100 miles an hour.
That sounds like a kidnapping.
What happened in court when you said those things, when you said the truth?
Now, keep in mind, Mike,
That's like a kidnapping out of a movie,
I
man.
was stripped naked at gunpoint once.
In the snow.
In the snow, released and asked to go back to the refuge to talk people out, which I did. And I went back into the refuge, tried to de-escalate the situation, and upon my return to the checkpoint, I was gladly arrested, stripped again in the snow at gunpoint,
Oh my God.
and hauled across the
Below
state at
zero.
100 miles an hour.
Below zero after Lavoy Finnegum's murder, I recall. And I
Yes.
also recall that you succeeded in convincing a few people to get out of the refuge.
They were my
had changed
friends.
their mind.
I was trying to save their life. I didn't want any bloodshed on either side of the fence. And the judge said that at my sentencing hearing. She said, Duane Emer, I know that you saved lives on the law enforcement side of the house and the people left at the refuge. You know, Sean, Sandy, Jeff, everybody.
And yet,
And
1
so-
year and 1 day
Anyway.
so was determined.
Are we done, guys?
Yeah, man.
They're here.
Yeah. Thank you for your
so much,
service.
Duane.